Fabulous. Right. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for attending this morning's session. Jose Madumo is going to be presenting our first Care and Connect session. We do have a couple of others lined up, so just have a look at our events calendar and register for those when they become available. The presentation, as well as the recording, will be available on the AFSA website, and if you have any questions throughout the session, you can just pop them in the chat. Right, so I think 5 past 10, I think we can kick off. Thanks, Conce.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Genevieve. Really appreciate it. All right, good morning, everyone. It's cold out there, but I'm hoping that we are going to keep each other warm here and really care and connect with one another. If you can manage it, please close your Outlook, close your everything that you were working on. If you had about 100 emails, maybe you'll have 110 by the end of the session, and that's manageable. I'm sure we can make that work. So yeah, step away from your keyboard and let's get into some Care and Connect sessions, really. So I am, sorry, let me just do that. There we go. I'm Khunze Madumo, and I am part of this amazing community where really Genevieve and Amanda and everybody in the team really care about making your lives easier and adding value to your lives as members. And this is how this Care and Connect idea came about. And we're here for the very first one, and I'm so excited to be bringing this to you. So this quarter's topic is humans in the systems, well-being in a world of deadlines and always on. And I think we can all relate to that, and we all know what that means. And so before we get into it, I'd like us just to think about how you're coming into the session. So think about where you're at, what's on your mind, what's weighing heavily on you. What do you want to put away? What do you want to think about? What do you want to bring to us today? I'll share and I'll say I am, the imposter shrieking a little bit right now because I'm here presenting on something that I care deeply about, and I think that is very important. However, I have multiple deadlines, and I've been always on for a very long time, and I can't tell you when I wasn't. So it feels a little, disingenuous. But here we are together to share, and hopefully we all learn something and connect with one another, and hopefully we also engage and share with one another. So I will give opportunities for that as well. And the very first opportunity really is for anyone who's brave to just think about what is the unspoken pressure in your environment at the moment? And unspoken is important to say. So what are people not saying? But you're feeling it, you sense it, it's happening. And think about what is draining you at the moment, what's not giving you energy, what's taking more than you really wanted to, and what's keeping you going anyway. So if there are any brave souls who want to unmute themselves and just talk about or respond to any one of those questions. So the unspoken word pressure, what's draining you, or how you're just coping with it anyway. If you want to type
so write it in the chat. Yes.
Yes,
I was just going to say.
Yeah.
Pop it in the chat, guys. Pleasure.
So you guys are all good? No challenges, no concerns. You're coming into this like energized, ready to go. I'm not sure if I'll see the chats, Genevieve. So if there is something, please do share.
I will share.
Okay. All right. Well, I think then if you're not feeling like you want to share, just think about it for yourself, right? So what are the unspoken work pressures that you're feeling right now? What is weighing on your mind? And what is draining you at work? And what are you doing to keep going anyway? Right. Okay, so let's set the scene. So I think all of us in this room understand systems, and there's no doubt about that. We're part of this community where systems are a very big part of our jobs and what it is that we do. We design them, we configure them, we optimize them. And when something goes wrong with the system, we don't blame the system user. We ask the question, Where did the system fail? So there are no systems that are made to run 100% at full capacity indefinitely. That's not our reality. We know that with systems. We build in buffers, we schedule downtime, we plan maintenance, we design for failure and for recovery. Yet in our own lives, we have created this always on necessity. We don't schedule any downtime. We are continuously processing in the background with systems that are always on. Constantly alerts and escalations, multiple interfaces putting attention all at once, and really zero tolerance for latency. Things that we would not tolerate in a system environment, we ask for of ourselves. And then we call it resilience. And we say, it's so resilient. It just keeps going, But the reality is that there are risks to continuing in an always on kind of pace and never switching off. There are risks. There's risks to you as the human. The first question that we did ask is, we do all of this for systems, but what about the human involved? So burnout is a term that you might have heard, and it's bandied around, and it's become a big part of our lexicon, and everyone just says, I'm so burnt out, I'm so burnt out. And it isn't a bug in the human, but it's an expected output of a system under constant load with no recovery cycle. The very thing we would not expect of a system. So Genevieve will run a poll shortly, and really I just want you to consider, so we can just have a discussion about this, what is most true for you right now? I feel a pressure to always be available. I've normalized stress as just the job. I've thought about leaving a role, not because of the work, but because of the weight on me.
I'm just launching the poll now.
Great, thanks, Genevieve. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to see it. Okay, there we go, perfect. Please respond as honestly as you can and just take it in and consider it. I'm responding as well here. Okay, all right. So we've got leading. I feel pressure to always be available at 42%. Okay, they've gone equal now. So I've normalized stress as just the job. That is 40%, as well as 40% for I feel pressure to always be available. And the one that's less selected is I've thought about leaving a role, not because of the work, but because of the weight. Right. So that's the reality at this point in time. So let's talk about those different areas. So staying on this poll, let's consider, for those who've said I've normalized stress as just the job, and I'll admit I'm one of those. I have normalized stress as part of the job. It seems impossible to imagine a world where that's not part of the job. That's not the reality. And it lands heavily because it's so common. When something becomes just the job, we stop questioning it. We stop saying, what's wrong here? It just becomes something that we accept, and we accept it almost without consideration for it. So I just want you to pause if that is your response. At what point did it stop feeling temporary and start feeling normal? When did you let stress become just part of the job? When did you normalize it? And what's one signal your body, your mind gives you that stress is no longer just the job? Is your body screaming at you? Is it saying, that's enough now? Give it a break already. Consider me a little bit here. And for those who said, I feel pressure to always be available, which I think is really, that's 47%. And that's probably true for most of us. Think about, where do you feel that pressure is coming from? Is it expectations that you place on yourself? Is it expectations from others? Is it habit? Are you just accustomed to this? Have you become accustomed to it? Are there unspoken norms in your environment? You know, this one works until 7, so I'm going to work till 7:30 or until 8. My manager leaves the office at 5, so I must leave at 5:15. What are the expectations? What are the things that are making it difficult? What are things weighing on you? And what would responsible availability look like instead of constant availability? So if you were to make the change, what's responsible? Is it responsible to be in the session for an hour and just take the time off, switch off your emails, and just be? It feels responsible. It's an hour, right? Surely nothing's going to change that dramatically within an hour. And what's one boundary that would actually make you more effective, not less? If you put this in place, it would actually add to your life and it would actually add value to your life. Got a comment? I feel guilty for switching off and constantly being and not constantly being on the go. And that's it, right? We inherited this from our COVID days, from our working from home days. We're so accustomed to always being on, and the guilt finds you. But hopefully by the end of the session, we start dealing with these things that we put on ourselves and the things that have been put on us. And those who said, I've thought about leaving a role not because of work, but because of the weight, think about, is it volume? Is it emotional load? Lack of support? Or is it something harder to name? And what would you need to change for that same role to feel sustainable again? What is it that you could do to turn that around in this particular role that you're still in? The role that you would consider leaving. And we don't need to solve for everything today, but if one of those things stood out for you, just identify one small shift that you can make, whether it's a conversation with someone to say, you know, actually, I feel a little bit burdened at this point in time, and I actually want to start bringing in something into my life that's going to add value. And therefore, I'm either going to log off earlier or I'm going to start later in the morning. Just that one shift that you can make. Just noticing it and naming it and being clear on it is often such a great help under these circumstances. So let me go back to sharing and go back to where we were. Thank you so much, Genevieve, for that. All right, go full screen. Okay, so what is this burnout phenomenon? I'm sure we've all heard about it, right? You know, there were times in our lives when we used to say things like a person is bipolar, and we didn't mean it as a condition, but we would just say things like that. And burnout has become pretty much similar to that, where we just say, I'm burnt out. But there is a real feeling and symptoms related to burnout, which we have to be able to understand in order to save ourselves from being burnt out. So what is it exactly? It's a work-related stress syndrome. So that's how the World Health Organization defines it. It's a work-related stress syndrome that develops gradually when prolonged stress becomes chronic and unaddressed. It's more than just being tired. I'm tired right now, but I'm not burnt out. There's a difference, right? So what characterizes this burnout? Energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance or cynicism towards one's job. So I hate it here. I hate my job. I hate my boss. I can't see a better day, right? Because we all have the bad days and we all have the difficult days and we have challenging periods. But if it is continuous and you can't snap out of it or you can't see a way out of it, then it becomes something to question. The reduced professional efficacy. So are you losing balls? Are balls dropping around you? Are things going wrong? Are you finding yourself being difficult to deal with? Are you a different person from who you're accustomed to be? So it's classified as an occupational phenomenon, not a disease, meaning it's a predictable outcome of workplace conditions, not a personal weakness. And that is so important for us to say. So important for us to say that it is not a personal weakness. It is a consequence of the workplaces that we have designed that continuously deplete, take, and leave us not feeling energized. So it's a system reaction, not a failure of the individual. So we're still in system mode, right? And when the system fails and the system reacts differently from what we programmed it to do or what we intended it to do, we don't throw it out and say, oh my gosh, I give up on the system. But we say, okay, how do I sort this out? How do I solve this? We define the problem. We sit and we say, it's not connecting the way it should. It's not integrating with the system the way that we wanted it to do. And it's not doing this and it's not doing that. And then we say, how do we then resolve that? But we don't give ourselves the same courtesy. So what does all of this feel like? So it's this exhaustion that we speak about, constant physical and mental fatigue. You wake up and you're tired. You go to sleep, you're tired. The weekend, you're tired. What does the cynicism feel like? Feeling disconnected or negative about work? And people will give you feedback. They'll say to you, are you okay? How are you? How are things going? And those are opportunities for you to think about it for yourself and think, am I okay? Am I showing up the way that I want to show up? And in efficacy, struggling to feel productive or effective. And I think oftentimes that is such a reality because the deadlines are always there and they're always looming. And once you've completed one, there's another one in the waiting to be completed, waiting to be dealt with. And so there's a normalcy that creeps in. But when you're experiencing all three of these things, you are likely facing burnout, and it is time to pay attention. If you're not facing all three yet, still, and maybe you're facing one or two of these, think about it and see what you can put in place to prevent going into burnout. So burnout is not reluctance to work harder, which is sometimes how we're made to feel, sometimes in these environments, or sometimes how we make other people feel if we have to reflect. So it's not a reluctance to work harder. It's the wearing down of the very system that makes high performance possible. And let's look at the numbers, because we love to say numbers don't lie. And if we look at this, we say worldwide poor conditions contribute to mental health disorders, and an estimated trillions of dollars is lost in terms of productivity due to anxiety and depression, often tied to chronic stress, and fuels burnout. So we work hard, we work 24 hours, we don't sleep, we don't take care of ourselves, and all we're doing is essentially setting ourselves up for a loss in productivity. That's the reality. So we think we're doing a good thing, but in the long term, it is actually counterintuitive and it does not solve for what we're trying to solve for. So if we look at the global burnout patterns, 77% of workers internationally have experienced burnout at their current job, often linked to workload and support issues, says Deloitte. And across some global surveys, between half and three-quarters of workers report feelings of exhaustion, cynicism, or diminished effectiveness, the core traits of burnout. And what is the South African story? 40% say their work harms their mental health. 85% struggle with stress at work. 36 report daily stress and low engagement, and 8% high burnout plus 28% at risk in one SA profile study. So that's high. These are high numbers. These are concerning. 77% of professionals experience burnout during their job. So we've got to pay attention to this, right? We've got to pay attention to it for ourselves and for the people in our teams and the people adjacent to our teams. And just consider, is it worth it? So in these SAP environments, we know that it's high stakes, high visibility, and there's a low margin for error. And when things go wrong, they really go wrong, right? They really do go wrong. And so we've got to think about then the fact that we work in these environments and what that means and how we've got to deal with with those realities. So the need for permanent urgency. Everything is critical. Everything should have been done yesterday. I've actually named somebody in our organization Mr. Yesterday because he always says, I needed that yesterday. And that's the reality. We're under that sort of pressure where it's an economical reality. There's retrenchments happening around us. We're struggling with being the survivors. There is so much going on in the world. We've got commissions upon commissions dealing with all sorts of things. So yeah, it's hard. It's definitely hard. So, but if you look at that permanent urgency, what's the reality of it? The reality is that if everything is critical and everything is urgent, your brain stops being able to prioritize. Your brain is now just in reaction mode. And that then leads to that inefficacy that we spoke about earlier. And if you look at your cognitive overload, so complexity never switching off, the work doesn't end when you close the laptop. And I mean, your laptop follows you home and your work remains with you in your thoughts. You're flipping through Netflix, you're still thinking about work, probably flipping through Netflix with your laptop on your lap. And I mean, I don't know if we ever thought we'd ever yearn for desktops, but I feel like I'm at the point where I might be yearning for a desktop, hey? But the invisible pressures, so the work looks calm until it isn't. So what does that look like? It looks like, can you do this additional thing? There's this project I'd like to put you on that you maybe were not on before. We're always covering for each other. Somebody's gone off and we've got to cover and whatever the case is, but you thought it was okay. But it's now piling on and it's becoming difficult. So what's clear is that we've entered an era where being average quietly has started to feel like failing. That's the reality. There's a need for this exceptionalism now. The expectations have escalated from just simply qualifying, to constantly achieving, growing, and outperforming. That's what is now expected. You scroll through LinkedIn, and the reality is people are getting PhDs and doing all sorts of things, and you're like, how? Like, how did you do that? People are studying, working, succeeding, and doing all these sorts of things that just seem so distant and challenging. And then we look at that and we compare our own realities, our tired, messy human realities, and we think, sheesh, how do I compare to this person's curated moment? Which is curated. It is curated. They've put on the lighting, they've done all the things they needed to do to give you this moment. Yet you look at it and you compare it to your most average moment and you say, I'm failing. So let's bust some myths. Let's really look at this and say, not me. How can we look at this reality and say, what can I do better? So this first myth is strong people don't struggle. He's resilient. You're resilient. No one expects you to struggle. We've heard and seen on social media this idea of check on your strong friend. Because no one checks on your strong friend, because that is what the strong friend is supposed to do. They're supposed to struggle. They're supposed to deal with struggles and carry on, and it should not deter them. But the reality is, strength often includes struggle. Struggle is a part of that strength. And so, yes, your strong friend definitely needs you. And if you are your strong friend, you need to be there for yourself as well. So if we look at these two people who we know well, Simone Biles, American artistic gymnast, one of the most dominant athletes in history, stepped back during the Olympics to protect her mental health. And boy, did the judgment come, right? Sure, she was judged for that decision, but she survived. and she took care of herself and she did what was necessary for her. She understood that I need this right now and I am going to give myself that. We look at Trevor Noah, and he's spoken openly about the emotional complexities of his upbringing and his success. And his memoir, which some of you might have read, highlights the achievement and internal challenges, rather, that can coincide. So absolutely, strength isn't an absence of struggle. I hope you can relate to this, and it's talking to some of you. So let's bust another myth. Busy equals valuable. What is the reality of that? Constant business is actually often a warning sign, not a badge. So if you're always busy, that is a warning light. I can tell you in the past few weeks, I've been busy for so long, and somehow this week became less busy. And I was in panic. I was like, oh my gosh, what's going wrong? What am I missing? I looked to my to-do list. I'm like, something's wrong here. Something is wrong. I'm not as busy as I always am. And so we've taught ourselves that busy equals valuable. And the reality is Arianna Huffington collapsed from exhaustion. And that moment has helped her think about and reshape how she looks at productivity and well-being. Bill Gates, we know him for his Think Weeks, intentionally carving out time to just reflect, read, and recharge. And really what his success underscores is that strategic resets and fuels insight, and more than this endless action. At some point, you have to stop and reset. So if you're sitting there and you've got a whole lot of leave days and you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to let those go. I'm just going to, carry on. There's lots to be done. Maybe reconsider that decision. And if somebody sent you a leave request, maybe think about approving it, because we definitely need time off in these busy schedules. Another myth is rest must be earned, right? So I have to work until the very last. I have to deplete myself of all of my energy and give it everything I've got, and then only will I rest. So rest is not a reward, it's a requirement. We are humans, people. We're humans. That is the reality. And if we can give our systems the breaks and the downtime, then perhaps we need to consider that for ourselves, being human beings. So LeBron James, a basketball player, he invests heavily in sleep, recovery, and rest as part of his peak performance. So as part of his peak performance, he heavily invests in rest, in sleep, and recovery. So it's a part of it. It's a part of it. Not after success, but because of it. Roger Federer, he's known for training less than peers at times, focusing on recovery to extend performance longevity. And Caster Semenya, I think we all know what she faces all the time in terms of just scrutiny and the pressure. Yet she's spoken about balance, well-being, and pacing her athletic journey. And this one, I think, was just crucial, myth number 4, because mental health is personal. It is personal, not organizational, right? So the reality is work design either protects or erodes mental health. It's the design of the work. It either adds or it takes away from mental health and takes away from our health. So Unilever have said they've publicly positioned themselves as mental health being part of their leadership strategy and being a responsible organization, and not looking at it as it's just the individual, because they understand it isn't an individual problem. It is how we've designed these work systems, designed these spaces, and that is what results in the problem. So the research from Deloitte repeatedly shows burnout is driven by workload, control, support, and culture. All things within our control. Those are all things within our control, all things that we can deal with and correct. So some organizations I've heard have a system perhaps that allows for people to actually switch off, in that you're not able to get into your emails, you're not able to get past into work and actually respond to emails or deal with work past a certain hour. And those are things that are fully in our control to do and assist each other really with switching off. So if your system requires superhumans to survive, the system is the problem, not the human. This exceptionalism that we've designed into the system, or this exceptionalism that we've become accustomed to, and that has become part of it's just part of the process, right? Like even when we interview people, we want to know, are you exceptional? We just can't do with less than exceptional. We need superhumans here. Then the system is the problem. So how do we give ourselves grace? How do we think about this differently? How do we start saying, yeah, I think we've got a problem, and I think it needs to be dealt with? So it means responding to pressure, mistakes, exhaustion, or limits with clarity instead of cruelty. And we can be the cruelest to ourselves. And that's how we are as ambitious people for the most part. So what is grace, and what does that look like? And what is grace not? What does grace not look like? So let's maybe start with what it's not. We're not asking you to lower your ambition. Please be ambitious, remain ambitious. Simone Biles, I'm sure, is still ambitious. When Federer was taking time off and not training as much, I'm sure he was still ambitious. Grace is not settling for mediocrity. It's not saying, I'll take it, even if it's not 100%, even if it's not as great as it could be. That's not what we're saying. Grace is not avoiding accountability. It's not giving it to someone else and delegating and leaving it to whatever may come. And it's not losing your edge. It's not becoming someone you're not. It's not becoming someone you can't recognize. That's what it's not. And grace is not giving up when things get hard. So we're not saying, no, lose your resilience. It doesn't matter. We're saying, no, you keep going, but within giving yourself the opportunity to rest and etc. So what does grace look like? It's recognizing when effort has tipped into depletion. So yeah, effort is required, but at which point are you now depleted? When are you out of steam? When are you now working at less than 5%? Even your phone can't at some point just switches off. At some point your phone's like, no, that's me for the day. Like if you don't charge me now, I'm out. So when are you getting depleted versus effort, the balance between the two? So allowing recalibration without self-punishment. So the weekends are actually for resting, but we use them to catch up. We catch up on Friday evenings. We catch up on Sunday. On Sunday evening, you've got to check, what's going on with my day? We wake up and you already have things to do, and you're already stressed about what do I need to do. And I'm hoping that when we do wrap up, we can share some ideas with one another. But I find when thoughts are on my mind all the time, they're just there and hanging around. Sometimes you're walking, the thought comes, just write it down. Just take a moment, write it down, and park it for later. So grace also looks like adjusting expectations temporarily without abandoning standards. So you can go into a week and say, this week, I'm actually not going to stay here till 7, stay at work until 7 or until 6. And I'm actually going to put my laptop away and I'm going to give myself a break. And everything will probably be fine in the morning. And everything will be fine the next week. But only you can give yourself that. Only you can give yourself that grace. So it is self-leadership, not self-indulgence. And I think that matters. How do you lead others before you can lead yourself? You've got to be able to lead yourself first and understand what I need and what is important for me. And that is not self-indulgence. So we've talked about this competitive mindset, but it's data over drama. So what's wrong with me is what we'd normally say, you know? What's wrong with me this week? I've dropped things. This has gone on and oh my gosh, I just don't feel like myself. But actually, what if you said to yourself, what's the situation asking me to adjust? There's a lot going on. I acknowledge it. I am reacting and maybe I'm not reacting in the best way. So how can I adjust? What can I do differently? Boundaries are strategies. So you don't set boundaries because you're fragile. You set them because you're valuable. We value our systems, right? And that's why we take care of them. We want them to give us a longer life. And so we take care of them. And much like the systems, we've also got to treat ourselves with boundaries and say, I'm valuable. So that's why I'm going to give myself a break. That's why I'm going to switch off. So recovery as training, elite athletes don't apologize for rest. They schedule rest as part of the success process and part of their ambition. Recovery isn't a pause from ambition, it's part of the plan. I don't know how far you are in terms of your career, but some of us are pretty much halfway, and you've got to ask yourself, am I going to make it for the rest of it? Or am I just going to crash because I just refuse to give myself the time today to just extend my life, extend the life of my system? So ambition without grace is a sprint to exhaustion. I hope that's what you've got from this session. I hope you're clear on that it is not wrong to be ambitious, but ambition without grace is a sprint to exhaustion. And we know that exhaustion leads to burnout. So ambition with grace is how you build a career that lasts, that outlives you, that you say, wow, I took care of myself and therefore I was able to do better things at work, and I can leave a legacy in this role in the multiple roles that I hold within these organizations. So let me just say that again. Ambition without grace is a sprint to exhaustion. Ambition with grace is how you build a career that lasts. So showing up strong for yourself is telling the truth about your capacity. Our CEO always says, the last person you should lie to is yourself. Very last person you should lie to. We'll even accept you lying to anyone else, but for goodness sakes, don't lie to yourself. So tell the truth to yourself about your capacity. Where am I right now? What can I do? What is possible for me? And intervening before the breakdown, not after. So who's your accountability person? Who do you talk to? When you're driving out of the office and you've got that little time to talk to someone, who can you talk to about, today it just really was not great. Today was not great. A little thing called journaling. Some people say that journaling, it really helps as you write. It's better psychologically to write, but sometimes we don't have time for that. And so while you're driving home, if you've got an iPhone, and I'm not sure about other phones, but you've got a journal there that you can actually record, your thoughts. And you can just record and say, geez, today, hey, like, if somebody were to find my journal, they'd find a lot. So, and that should be what they find, because I need to get it out of me. I need to release it. I need to let it out. So really just be truthful to yourself and say, I need to release this. Choosing sustainable excellence over heroic collapse, because no one needs a hero, man. Jeez, think if this country's shown us anything, is that we don't need a hero. What we need is ourselves, and the best selves. If we had more good people in the balance, we wouldn't need a hero. And so stop, this hero mentality just needs to come to an end. So the reframe is, the old model of strength is push harder, ignore signals, prove resilience through endurance. Rest only when forced. You know, that when HR sends you an email and says those leave days, hey, you're going to forfeit them soon. That's the only time we then think about taking leave. But we are reframing, and we are going to be new models of strength. And we're saying we will read the signals early. We will recover deliberately. I will say on Fridays, I do not touch my laptop in the evenings. On the weekend, I will not check my emails. In fact, on Friday afternoon, when I leave the office, I will go into my notifications and turn off my emails. I will compete with yesterday's version of myself, not everyone else's. I don't know what they're going through. I don't know why they do what they do, but I know about me. So I will compete against my best self and no one else. Protect the asset. You are the asset. You showing up at work is the reason why you can continue to build your own legacy, build your dreams, buy yourself all the things that you need, take care of your family. So you got to protect the asset. We insure so many things, don't we? We insure our phones, we insure all sorts of things, our vehicles. But where is your insurance policy? What are you doing to ensure that you can continue? So with that, I really do want to invite us to connect. I think we've talked a lot, and I just want to invite people to share and think about for themselves, what is the thing that I'm doing that I can share with others that would help them? It's gifting time. I'm not Oprah, granted. So looking under your desk or your chair may not get you anything, but we can gift each other just with some ideas about what are you doing that is really adding value to your life. And I'll ask Genevieve to go, but let me go first. So I used to walk in the evenings, and I live in a space where really walking is really just, it's so fulfilling. Lots of trees and beautiful spaces. But I could no longer walk in the evenings because I needed to be at work later than usual. And so what I've done and switched is that now I walk in the morning, and I wake up early and I get onto the road, and no matter what, I walk in the morning. Sometimes my walks are shorter than what I intended them to be, but I have given myself a prize at the end of it. So on a Friday morning, I walk to McDonald's and I get myself a chai latte because I reward myself for having walked from Monday to Friday, and I get myself a chai latte. And that's one of the things that I'm doing for myself to say, hey, you deserve it. You're an asset. I need to invest in you. Does anyone else have an idea or anything that they would like to share? As simple as it might be, really, it might help someone. So, Genevieve, is there anything that you do or that you're thinking about doing?
Ah, on the spot. So I do the same. I do park runs on Saturdays, which gets me up nice and early. And it also just gives me some time to think. But actually every day in the evening, well, just before the evening, I actually go to therapy. And it's just something that it's my time completely just with myself and whoever. And it's actually, I come back feeling a lot less stressed, and I don't take out my irritation or anxiety on the rest of the
Yes,
family. Yeah.
yes, beautiful. That's so beautiful. And that's why you're always smiling and always happy. So that's great. Great
Oh,
investment.
thank you.
That's excellent. Anyone else want to share? I'm just going to read what Lamise, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name correctly, has shared. Or maybe Lamise, if you do feel brave, do you want to share the story? Because you are the best person to tell it.
Sure, no problem. So I previously worked with CEO consultants, a very brilliant lady, and she was suddenly hospitalized. And it was the stress of work and not finding that boundary between a good, healthy work-life balance and um family balance. And that was a sudden reality check for her. She actually resigned, which was sad because she was really good at what she did. And she's recovered much better now. But I think it's important for us to find that work-life balance early, identify a burnout as it's difficult to identify sometimes, but we need to try to do that in order to help ourselves earlier because we don't want to be in that kind of situation. Um,
Where you
yeah,
have to give it all.
and
Yeah.
her position was easily replaced like it is in any organization, and the company continued obviously. But we don't want to be in that situation, so we need to take care of ourselves mentally and physically. And I think for me, what's important is, and I know it's not always easy for everybody to do this, but the exercise part of it and going to gym every morning sets me mentally for the day and also physically for the day. I feel so energized to start the day. And I know it's not easy for everybody because they've got family and little kids that they need to take care of and help to start the day. But for me, I've got that opportunity and I just roll out of bed some days. Um, and I just go, even if I don't feel like doing it, I just do it. And after I do it, I just feel really energized and ready for the day.
Great. Thanks for sharing that, Lemise. That is so incredible. And I think what you also say there is so important to understand that we're not all facing the same things. We don't all have the same realities, but we've got to think about our own realities and how we can shift and make things work for each other, for ourselves. So if you're not able to do it in the morning, can you do it in the afternoon? Can you do it at any given time? Can you take a meeting while you're walking in the office, around the office, whatever the case is? What opportunity is available for you? Anyone else want to share? Great. So I think let's also think about an accountability partner. So think about someone in your life who works maybe in a similar environment as you, who understands how difficult it is for you to get your job done. Because I think sometimes we lean on people. I mean, you talk to your mother, right? And your siblings or whatever the case is, but do they get it? Do they often just really understand what you're going through? Sometimes not. And so you may need somebody who really gets it, that you can just go and talk to and say, this week, my goodness, really, I cannot any longer. And just be able to just vent and share with that individual and allow them to do the same with you. So just consider that and think about who could that person be for me and contract with that person, as we do in the workplace. Call that person and say, listen, I'm going to need something from you and I'll be available for you too. Let's just be kind to one another and share and be available to one another. And then think beyond that and think about, what am I going to adjust in order to not be a victim of this reality that is here, that the senior SAP CEO that Lemise has kindly shared with us. How do I stop that from happening to me? Because it can happen to you. So think about what you're going to do differently. And I hope it's been useful. And I hope that in future, if you have enjoyed it, that you will talk to other people in your community to join AFSUG and join the community and join these sessions. I think our next one is scheduled for June, and we're excited about that one. But over to you. Thank you, Genevieve. Thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for listening to me, everyone.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Fonse, obviously, thank you. I mean, I think that really was insightful and really, really lovely. I think you have some really nice ideas that we can take away from that. And to everyone else, the invite for the next session will go out. So just have a look in your inboxes and be sure to register for that, as well as the recording will be available on the AFSUC website. I hope you all have a wonderful long weekend and we will chat soon. Bye bye.
Thanks, Genevieve. Thanks, Onsen. It's good.
Thank you, ladies. Bye.